Hey everyone, today we'll be talking about the wet on wet technique. It's a lot of fun, so I hope you give it a try. The first important thing that you want to do when you're doing wet on wet cookies is that you'll have your multiple colors in your flood icing around the same consistency. Try to get them at the same flowiness, and that will perform the best. We always want to use flood icing because you want icing that melts into each other. Flood icing has more water and therefore it dries slower, so you can do more details while the icing is still wet. So here I have my donut cookie. You can see my first layer, the brown layer, is dry, and I'm working on the pink icing layer. You want to make sure you have a looser flooding. Some people like to flood with really thick icing, but when you're doing wet on wet, you want a little bit of a looser icing, maybe an 8 to 10 second consistency, because you want the icing to stay wet when you do the next layer. I'm not waiting for that pink layer to dry, and right away I'm going in with my white flood. And if you notice, if you look at the lines that I've already done, they've already sank into the icing. And so this top layer of white is sinking right into that pink icing, and when it dries, it's going to be level. It won't be sitting on top of the pink. And this is your wet on wet technique. And let's see it on another cookie. So again, I have a freshly flooded pink cookie here, and I'm doing these little circles in purple. So my pink flood icing is still wet. I just finished it and going in with my purple flood icing. And you kind of want to work a little bit fast, especially if you have a bigger cookie. So I'm going to do a few circles, and then I'm just going to take my scribe and I'm going to pull through the icing. I'm going to do this about 4 to 5 times, and it makes a nice little flower shape. And I'm wiping my scribe off with a wet paper towel with each swipe, because sometimes you get a little icing stuck on there and you don't want to drag it through. It won't give you a clean line. So this is a fun little technique to do to get some flowers. You can be creative. And it turns out really nice. So I like to work in sections. So again, I'm going to do a few more of these circles here. And notice it's still sinking in. It takes a few seconds, but you'll see it slowly sinks into the icing. So it's becoming level with the pink icing, so it'll be nice and smooth, and it won't be sitting on top of that icing. I'm trying to go, quicker, especially towards the end here. You got to work a little bit fast. This is a larger cookie, so it takes a little bit more time, and you want to do it before it starts to dry. So again, that's why when you're working with looser icing with more water in it, it helps for it to stay liquid longer. And you can also, add some polka dots or different designs. You can really be creative. And here's another example, a different example, where I'm putting a little bit of white icing, again in my green icing. And once again, I flooded the green and right away went in with the white. They're both flood icing. And I'm just using my scribe to kind of swirl them around. I don't want the white icing super pronounced, so I'm just mixing it in to give it a little bit of a shine. So there's so many different techniques. This works great as well for like glass, putting a little bit of a shine on the glass there with the white icing on the school bus here. And usually with my cookies, after each step, I'll go and dry them in my dehydrator. But with wet on wet, when you're doing those steps, you want to do them one after another and work on the same cookie. You don't want them to dry in between. So that's our wet on wet technique. Hope you learned something new, and I hope you give it a try. Thanks so much for watching. Happy baking!